Hi, Miss Sandra. Would you like to say anything? Welcome, by the way.
Hi. Hi, I'm Sandra Courtney. I work for the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Been listening. I'm the small business librarian.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
so I get an opportunity to talk to a lot of people who are starting their business and or people who are currently in their business. So I had the opportunity, I usually have the opportunity to share with them some of the resources, the small business resources that the library has. Um, Now it's very interesting with people trying to pivot and diversify their
Mm-hmm.
businesses.
Right.
So my job is to connect them with information, whether it's locally, internationally, about what other people are doing, and other resources that they may need to have access to. So I'm so happy to be here with you guys. Been watching the videos. Excellent, excellent videos. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sandra. So I guess with that, then we'll go ahead and kick this off. Everyone, thank you for joining us. This is Tool 2, Financial Projections during a crisis, basically. So we have our two guest hosts, which is Mr. David Kraus and Miss Connie Campanaro. They are co-founders of NuLevel Strategies. So they do everything from accounting, CPAs kind of under the sun. They just do not give tax advice or legal advice, if I'm correct, right? Hopefully. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right. So we will go ahead and actually how we'll start today off is we'll just kind of go around. Miss Sandra, actually, thank you for starting us off. But we'll go around and if you could just give us a little bit information about your business, maybe what stage you're in, obviously your name, and maybe what you're looking to learn from today's conversation. So I will go ahead and kick it off with Miss Lenora Page.
Well, the name is Lenora Page, and my business is Flower City Monitor Services, and we do construction, mostly demolition, abatement, post-construction cleaning. We do some surveying and air testing. And we've been affected by COVID-19. Yes, we didn't completely close. We had a couple of projects that stayed open or stayed where they were still going on. One of them was a housing development, so they were considered essential. So we had, like half of our crew that was still working. And I'm just looking for ways to pivot from here because I know things are changing. One of the things that we are doing, we were looking into it before this all happened, was getting into like doing some duct cleaning and different things like that. And even we've taken training for cleaning after the COVID-19 and getting the employees up to par to where they need to be so we can, kind of pivot and go that way as well. So just looking for some idea, suggestion, directives.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one of the things, and I don't know if anyone else has any concern about that, is that with the extra money that they're getting, extra $600 a week, it's kind of difficult to kind of get your employees to want to come back to work.
Yeah.
So, and I know there's a possibility that it may be extended until January, and that's going to make it even more difficult.
Wow.
So, usually the guys who work for me, when they're on unemployment, they get $504 a week, and now you're giving them extra $600 a week. They're staying home and collecting $1,100 a week. That's a lot of money, and that's hard to compete with to get them to come back. So that's only a couple $100 less than what they would make if they were working. So just trying to find avenues to, yeah. So that's going to make it difficult, even for the construction industry, and it's a high-paying industry for the most part. But if you can stay home and get just $200 less than what you would do for working a 40-hour week, which one would you do?
Right. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Lenora. We'll kind of come around and, answer those questions, and hopefully these financial projections will kind of help you out with that particular situation. All right. We'll go over to Ms. Demetria Stover, and hopefully the unmute button works on this situation. All right, Demetria.
Oh, hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. I actually, well, I am Demetria Stover. I own the Body Valet. I had actually came on today. I didn't expect to say anything, but hi everyone. Basically, where I am is feel like in the middle of a beginning and a beginning and a beginning. And what I mean by that is that for the level that where I was taking my business, the next step that I wanted to take my business into, of course, was all stopped by the quarantine. And so now, but it has given me the opportunity to kind of revamp and go over things and kind of look at things a little bit differently so that I can proceed in a different way. But being that I have personal services, you know, massages and facials and things like that, it's going to take me a little bit longer to get back into everything. So I'm taking this time to get all the information that I can, finances and how to move forward, and then taking what you know, everybody else is saying and trying to use it for my business so that when I am able to open up, I'll be okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, Demetria.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go head over to Mr. McCarley.
Bonjour, bonjour. How's everyone today?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. For those who do not know me, my name is Michael McCarley. I'm actually the director, and I don't use it as often, but small business reengineering specialist for what's called the Small Business Education Institute. I also operate as one of the technical assistance providers to Pathstone in its journey for educational excellence to the community. And primarily what I do is I try to convince small businesses in the direction that they need to go, normally from a strategy standpoint, um, sometimes hitting them with numbers, sometimes hitting them with reality situations. And as Mr. Hyder can surely attest to, the fact that I have a tendency of going out on tangents quite a bit when I teach. But it's all about to put somebody in a better place. So we provide education, business coaching, pitch management assistance, general consulting overall, and some research for the small businesses. So again, hello, everyone.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so I guess I will, and I realized I didn't introduce myself, so hello everyone. I'm Jahaira Zapata. I'm one of the business development officers at the Pathstone Enterprise Center Buffalo office. So again, thank you for coming. We really appreciate you spending some time with us. And, you know, we're really looking forward to the information that has been put together by David and Connie. So I guess take it away, David and Connie, however you would like to start off.
Sure. When we were thinking about how this session was going to go today, we thought we would just respond to questions or comments or perceptions of the assistance that we provided you in the videos. But if it's helpful, I could give kind of an overview of what our intention was when we prepared the presentations, and kind of step you through it even for a couple of minutes just to kick us off.
Yeah,
and that
sure.
might stimulate some discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I want to really emphasize is any feedback you can give us on our presentations would be really helpful, because this is a new medium for us too. So any kind of feedback would be really appreciated.
Definitely.
I have a question. David and Connie, can you share with individuals why it is necessary for them to really take a look at their financials and financial projections for their business?
I think the biggest reason is it's a way to get past uncertainty. And I just think the emotional ramifications of the uncertainty can kind of take you down a black hole. Whereas when you can map out various scenarios, it'll help guide you to which one you want to pursue. Dave?
And absent a plan, it's kind of difficult to know where you want to go or where you might go or where this, where the changes in the economy that we're experiencing might lead you. So we're strong proponents of laying out a plan with the best available information you have at your fingertips. And we're all best guessing on some of these things these days. We're following the lead of the government officials and how quickly things are going to reopen or not. And we're reacting in real time. But it's still better to lay out a thoughtful, this is my best available information, build a plan out of that. And I'm going to speak for Pat Stone here, I think, and for any lender, that's what a lender wants to see, is that you've really thought through these scenarios, this situation as best you can, and how it's going to affect your business. Because if you're looking for capital to dig your way out of this challenge that we're all facing, that the person on the other side of that table that is going to make that decision on the loan or the investment in your company, they're going to want to see that you've thought through this as best you can. So.
And I will just ask, and you can address this wherever you see fit, if you feel like you want to do that now or maybe towards the end. If you could maybe provide your suggestion as to how people should get their financial projections or papers or anything in order. Like, is there a particular organization method, I guess I should say, or like, should people have some type of binder, like just in case of an emergency binder situation that they can refer back to at some point, when any particular crisis hits, not just a pandemic, but maybe a death in the family or an employee quits or anything like that. So I guess any kind of suggestions you have on how people should keep that stuff organized, we would really be grateful for that.
Sure. Yeah. Hopefully that'll come out a little bit as we talk over the next hour.
Okay, and we actually have a new person that just joined us, Mr. Antoine Jackson. Hello, thank you for joining.
Hello.
How are you today?
Hi.
Good. Yourselves?
Good, thank you.
Good.
So you just wanted to give you a heads up. We were kind of going around and asking people if they could provide us a little bit about their business and maybe where they are, like what stage they are in their business and what you are expecting to learn from today's discussion. Sorry, kind of put you on the spot there, but.
No, and I'm sorry. The car was switching from headphones to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so going through that little transition. Okay, my name is Antoine Jackson. I have a commercial cleaning business. I've been in business 12 years now. I didn't hear everything you asked me to mention. I've been in business 12 years. I'm currently still out doing some work as an essential worker. Have had accounts that have closed up due to them not being essential, but I also have some that are continuing to operate, which have added on services. Still in the process also of meeting with other companies so that when we begin to come out of and begin to open up, the city begins to open up, there's also things in place and companies that are in place for us to begin to move, to get in, to start doing some cleaning, even doing some cleaning prior to them opening. So still trying to continue to work and do some things and put some things in place while we're going through what we're going through, as well as when we come out. Did I miss anything?
That's very helpful.
David, I wonder if you could just hit like some highlights of the points that you made in the videos for us.
Sure. Let me share my screen.
I think that one of the best features of the video is the flexibility. You're taking one business and you're saying, but what if you just open up a line of credit? But what if you get a PPP loan? But what if you lay half your staff off? But what if, that you have the ability to sort of play out different scenarios to track your own path.
Exactly. Well put. What I'll just touch on a couple of high points in this first video, because I think the meat of the information that everybody probably wanted is in the second video.
Mhm.
But this was my therapy slide here, that, you know, we're all we're all in a difficult situation to varying degrees, but you're not alone. You just got to adapt. We've got to figure out a way to see our way through this, and we can if we keep our eyes and ears open and develop realistic projections that try to take into account everything that's going on. And you might have to consider financing. That would be one of the solutions. And I touch on that a lot in the second presentation, which I'll just jump to right now. One challenge that we had when we put this presentation together was how to make it useful enough that, in a general sense, well, we were trying to keep it to, you know, something that manageable in terms of time, because if I did this for an hour and a half, you know, everyone would fall asleep. So we wanted to keep it bite size, but we also wanted to have enough information there that maybe there was something in there that, whatever your business and wherever your business is in its stage or how it's dealing with this pandemic, there's something in there that you can take away from the presentation. And I sat in on a presentation that the AICPA put on a few weeks ago, and they broke out quick recovery versus something, you know, much longer perhaps. So I thought that would be a useful cut point to try to identify what things might look like for a typical business that's been affected negatively by the pandemic in a quick recovery scenario, with a couple of different spreadsheets there that we'll look at if you guys would like. And then several other types of moderate or long recovery scenarios with financing of various types, some more expensive than others. And all the while comparing this to what I'm calling your base case, which is, in layman's language, that's just where you were before this pandemic started. What does your business look like back in January? And what I decided to do was to set up a base case. Okay, this was a business, a typical business. This is how I came up with the numbers down here. And it was cash flow positive on a base case, in the base case world before the pandemic hit. And this base case flows into every one of these other spreadsheets here. Then does everyone more or less understand the format that I adopted here, or would you like me to step through it a bit?
I would suggest just to step through it, just
Okay.
as a quick
Yes, please.
walkthrough.
Yes.
Okay. The spreadsheet format here is each column represented by the orange cells is a month. So this is a cash flow projection monthly, and the ending cash for one month becomes the beginning cash for the following month. So in this scenario that we're looking at, this is a quick recovery scenario, and it also assumes this business sat down when the pandemic hit, and there was an effect on the business, and they said, well, okay, over the next 3 months, my sales, they're going to take an immediate hit, but they're going to recover so that by month 4, we're back at full sales at 100% of where I was before I was the economy took a hit. So $8,500 a month in sales is indicated in this base case, and the blue cells in month 4 indicate, okay, you're back to where you were before the pandemic. And the way I used to do these analyses when I worked in finance is you'd identify, okay, what's the hole that you're digging on a cash flow basis. That means you were cash flow positive before the pandemic hit. Month 1, 75% of your sales are lost from where you were, but they start to tick up from there. So every month, assuming the same cost structure, this is before you make decisions about how you're going to address the problem. So you assume the same cost structure, your revenues take a hit. Every month you're digging, you got a cash flow hole that you're trying to plug. So what's the hole? $5,788 at the end of month 4. And then based on you were cash flow positive before you started this scenario. You're now cash flow positive again in month 4. So that hole gets a little bit smaller every month under this set of assumptions. But regardless, you have a $5,700 problem you have to fix. So in this example, and I skipped a slide there, or jump to the next one. This example assumes, okay, I was able to apply for a PPP loan, which is indicated by the $6,000 up here in red. So that's more than the $5,700 hole. So that's how this business would get around it and solve the problem if they were able to get that PPP loan approved. And we've had 3 nonprofit clients secure PPP loans, and fortunately, we secured a PPP loan. We were just told that today, so we got a modest loan there. So that's going to help our situation. Now, the one odd thing I did here, but for a reason, I'm assuming no forgiveness on the PPP loan. Why would I do that when one of the benefits of the PPP loan program is that loan's going to be forgiven if you meet the conditions? Well, I really just wanted to demonstrate what the cost of the financing was for that loan. It's a 2-year loan at 1% interest, which are those are very favorable credit terms. And so the $336 on the debt service line, that indicates the debt service on that loan.
David, we have a question asking if the PPP loan has to be paid back.
If it's not forgiven and you have spent according to the guidelines of the program, and please, if I misstate this, all other folks on the call, if you know more than I do, please just stop me. You have to spend according to a certain, the rules. You have to spend 75% of the loan on payroll or payroll-related expenses, benefits, and the rest of it can be spent on rent, utilities, mortgage interest, debt obligations, interest on debt obligations that were incurred before the middle of February. Assuming you do all those things correctly, if this business did that, spent the entire $6,000 on, on those terms, according to those terms, the loan would be forgiven. That means it's no longer a loan, it's revenue. It's sales. It's not sales, but it's revenue to this business. So there is still ongoing question, push for guidance from the AICPA and a lot of other entities as to the taxability of that $6,000 and the expenses that were associated with spending that $6,000. It's not clear yet. Their Treasury Department and the SBA are being asked to provide guidance on an almost daily basis, and it's a shifting landscape there. So long and short, it would be forgiven. If it's not forgiven for whatever reason, then it becomes a loan that you do have to pay back according to a 2-year repayment schedule at 1%.
Right, and I just want to clarify that if you use 75% of it the way you should have, then what you are on the hook for is the other 25%.
Whatever you don't spend, there's a time period that you're allowed to spend, and then at the end of that time period, if you haven't spent the $6,000, say, on the allowable items, then you have to return that money. You don't even get a chance to keep it, because it has to be spent according to that 75-25 split. And if it's not forgiven for whatever reason, like maybe you spent, I don't know, I can't even give you an example, but if it's not forgiven in full, then the balance of that would be a loan, as I understand it. Does that sound right, Deanne? Or Adam?
Let me make an interjection. And one of the things that you said, David, earlier, which is still the issue with the PPP, is the fact that everybody is still waiting for very specific guidance on issues such as that.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched several other webinars, and one individual just prominently said, don't even get caught up in the madness of the 25% component. Use your 75 or use all of it for your payroll. That way, in bringing your people back, then the loan, in fact, after a period of time, actually becomes a forgivable loan. And as you've also identified, the big question that comes into play here is how much of it is ultimately taxable, or how is it going to be classed with regard to relative income or not associated to the business's books. But at this particular point, there's still guidance which everybody's waiting on to actually figure out exactly what the deal is for the forgivable aspect of the PPP in of itself. So as soon as we can find that stuff out, we can let everybody know.
Well put.
As soon as the SBA comes back and buys back those loans from the bank, I think more things will crystallize. I mean, you know, in the first round of the of your like advance payment on your income tax return money that people are calling stimulus money, even though it was already your money,
Right.
it wasn't in the rule book that if the person has passed away, you can't cash the check.
Mhm.
That didn't crystallize until like a month later. So that's part of the unknown frustration, is all the unknown, I guess.
We actually do have, there are two more questions. So one of them goes back to, you know, will we lose what we don't spend? So like you said, David, you know, you took out 10,000 and only used 8,000. Do you lose the 2,000 that you didn't spend, or?
As I understand it, the time period, there's a, please, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a
Sorry,
time limit on when you can spend
David,
it.
hey, sorry, your connection is a little staticky. I'm not sure. The voice is staticky. All right. Hopefully,
Is this better?
not really. Sorry.
Let me kill the screen share. Is that better?
No.
It sounds like it just became a connection issue, because it wasn't like that before.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like either a modem, probably a modem issue for some reason. It's been happening all day today, trust me. I've heard ghosts, echoes, and third persons in almost every webinar I've been on. But to answer that question, let me help you out here, David. You have a couple of options here, and people seem to forget this. If you don't happen to spend all the money, then you have it to give it back. If you don't use it, then it doesn't become, actually, it does not convert to a loan, if in fact there were going to be that. But again, my thing is, if in fact you don't use all the money for its relative intended purpose, I'd hold on to it for a second till you figure out what's actually going on, until we get guidance. And then if you don't need to use it, just send it back. And the rest of what you have used, if in fact it was forgivable, it shall be.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess for David and Connie, then, should we record the PPP loan, or any loan for that matter, as income, revenue? Is that correct? Or is there something else?
Is this any better, or am I still staticky?
Oh, it's better.
A little
Okay.
better, yeah.
Better, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it has to be recorded as a loan initially until it's officially forgiven.
Okay.
And I heard some, as more evidence that this is a moving target. I was on a webinar yesterday, and apparently banks are going to have up to 60 days at the conclusion of the program to get back to you with a forgiveness decision. So you might be hanging out there waiting on that decision for full, till the end of the summer.
Gotcha. Okay, and then any advice? I know you haven't gotten into quite like the projections of 3 or 6 months, but any advice on projecting what my business emergency fund should be? Do you recommend 3 months of expenses or 6? Yeah.
I've heard 3 to 6 as kind of a common benchmark. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Okay.
For 3, but now that doesn't seem like enough, does it?
True. Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And I think we are up to date on the questions so far. So you can go ahead and continue with the slides, David.
All right, I'll just point to
You want to
another.
trade places with me, Dave?
Yeah, the static is still coming
Really
in.
bad?
Yeah, sorry.
Dave's
Okay.
going to become Connie.
Okay.
While we're waiting though for them, I think it is just really important that people keep in mind your numbers are everything. Anyone who watches Shark Tank, any of the investment shows, one of the first questions that people ask is, what are your numbers? What have you done as a matter of sales? Okay, how does this actually impact, my interest in helping you as an investor? But David made the comment that banks definitely function in the same manner. And so I was just filling some space till you guys switched. Hi, Connie, you've changed.
I'm very
Thank
different
you.
now. Very different.
A lot of small business owners wait until the end of their fiscal year to start getting their books organized and in order. And I
Wow.
think the most important thing they could be doing right now is keeping them highly organized right now, especially if you got a idle or PPP.
Gotcha.
I mean, we're telling people to even go to the extreme of opening another bank account just for that money. That might seem like overkill, but
Yeah, the static is horrible, Connie, just to be aware.
oh yeah,
Going to be direct. I had no idea it was that bad. I'm sorry about that, folks.
Okay.
Yeah, we were advising clients to see. I took the approach that with zero guidance at the front end on this. We've only got some guidance now, right? But I was telling our nonprofit clients that they should open their own bank account, because I was making the assumption that you've got to assume that the banks are going to be swamped with reviewing these loans, and someone's going to have to be the police, on the forgiveness decision. So you want to make this as easy as possible. If you isolate the funds in their own bank account, it might make it easier. Seems like a lot of work to have done that, but that was the advice we were giving people.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's see. I was gonna say, oh, Connie's sharing, but it's actually David.
Here is maybe a better, more representative. Can everyone see this? I hope.
Yes.
More representative cash flow projection with a standard line of credit, 9% interest rate, which is still not cheap, but it's a whole lot cheaper than a credit card would be if you decided to use your credit card as your go-to to see yourself through this problem. The gray cells at the top indicate the draws on the line of credit. And so given this forecast, where your base case sales are again reached in month 11, close to a year, the draws on the line of credit get you into a situation where you're at least cash flow, you got positive cash flow, your bank account's not underwater at the end of every month. That said, there were still some significant decisions that the management team of this company made. They reduced other expenses by 90% for the very slow period at the front of the first 6 months, and 25% after that. They reduced labor by 40% for 3 months and 10% after that. All of that said, this the hole that we were trying to plug under the long recovery scenario was about $18,000. So a variety of means and techniques were used in this example to solve that problem. And I was heartened to see, okay, after you make all those decisions, some of them very tough, you're back to where you were a year out or 11 months out. Your debt service on that line of credit is only slightly more than your free cash flow in your base case. So you're close to making it work. The line of credit balance at the end of a year is about $11,000, $11,350. Now, some of this, the way I did this, I think it's certainly oversimplified. But again, I was trying to present something that had enough specificity in it that you might be able to take something away from it to your situation, your business. just kind of a balancing act. Does this make sense to everyone? Do you have any questions about this?
Don't
Yeah.
be afraid, people. Ask.
Please.
I feel, David and Connie, people don't really get the finances and the projections. They leave it to folks like David and Connie. And the thing about it is, they don't understand it. I can't tell you how many people come to me and I say, do you know this, that, and the other? And like, well, my accountant knows. That does nobody any good. You need to know. I'm sorry, I just had to inject that.
No, because these numbers, you're right on. These numbers don't mean anything unless the owner of the business is behind those numbers and has that conversation with whoever prepared this analysis. Because whoever prepared this analysis doesn't know the business as well as the owner does, and never will.
Right.
So they know their sales, they know their cost structures, they know their suppliers and their vendors and their customers.
And David, I'm sorry. Can you just remind us how much the financing was in this example?
Sure. Well, it was a line of credit that was drawn on as needed.
Okay.
So at the end of the year, we were trying to plug an $18,000 hole. So, but at the end of the year, the line of credit was $11,350. The draws on the line, I didn't assume any payments on the line because the numbers that I had in this forecast didn't allow you to pay down the line. Now, that's a fairly dire scenario, but I'd rather be conservative. So the draws on the line of credit are up here. The balance is shown down here in the base of the spreadsheet, 11,350.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that, there were still some actions taken by the management, by the owners of the company, reducing payroll and reducing other expenses for a period of time until such time as you get to the point where your sales are again where they were, where you need them to be. So
Gotcha.
That makes sense. There was a lot of rambling. Sorry.
Yeah. We actually have Adam that has a question, and so I'm just going to mute him because he has a weirdly worded question, he says. So 1 second.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, go right ahead.
David and Connie, can you guys talk about, we're in a weird time now. How do we know if a month, so let's say we have a really good May, but we had a bad April and a bad March, and we think we're going to have a bad June. How can we know if a month is an anomaly? And then how do we adjust our projections going forward if we think we're in an anomaly? Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I would think you got to get to the root cause of why that 1 month was good in the middle of all those bad months. Was it a one-time cash infusion from the government that's not going to last? Was it an odd one-off contract that came in from somebody who needed something in a hurry that doesn't have any legs to it, and you're not going to have it around for the long term? You got to dig a little deeper into why the sales spiked to the positive in that 1 month. I think it's as a starting point.
Okay, cool. I asked, we had somebody who, they own a more or less a candy shop, and they had a really bad March, they had a great April, and now they're having a really bad May. And April, they were able to move a lot of sales online, but now they're seeing that online traffic drop dramatically back to kind of pre-COVID days, and so they're not sure how to project moving forward. And I think the conversation I had was, hey, this is probably an outlier. You had people who were getting their those stimulus checks in and things like that. So
yep.
I think it's important to keep that kind of stuff in mind. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, more than ever, it seems that we're paying attention to legislation, right? And the extended unemployment benefits, are they going to run beyond the midsummer when they're scheduled to stop? All those kinds of things are entering into our business consciousness maybe more than ever before, because those might be your customers. Well, they might be okay now. How are they going to be around Labor Day? We don't know.
I have a question for you, Dave. I want to make sure I put this correctly. Do you think it's a good idea, and I'm kind of working off of Adam's example, that even in the anomalies, that you really work your projections or your, I hate the word expectations, but that your expectations off your worst case scenario? I mean, you may have spikes. The aspect of whether businesses are really truly seasonal or not is always an interesting discussion. But you have a spike, you have wonderful sales, and then they drop. I mean, I'm looking at, quite honestly, what was the assumed average? What's the worst case scenario? That was an anomaly. If I've got some extra, let me take it, put it in the account, and keep moving forward. But can you talk more about that? That people should take maybe the worst case scenarios, or medium case scenario versus, oh yay, I can go on vacation to Tahiti, and then next week I got IRS knocking on my door.
Yeah, certainly I would agree with you that somewhere between medium case and worst case is probably where you need to be. Under normal times, and I don't think we're in normal times right now. So it's all the more important for you to be realistic and not expect. You have to be optimistic. That's what we're all about here. You've got to see a path forward here, but you've got to be realistic. You've got to ask the hard questions, and laying out different, a range of scenarios, and landing somewhere on the far more conservative end, I think, is advisable. Because you don't want to get yourself in over your head or in a situation where your life and your lifestyle has taken a massive hit, and you can't care for yourself or your family. That would be pretty serious thing. So,
do you have maybe like the top 5 hardest questions you should be asking yourself regarding your business? Like if this is something that financial projections seem to be overwhelming to someone, what are the first 5 things that they should ask themselves that maybe it can get the ball rolling, so to speak, so they can actually really start diving into this and start, looking into the intricacies of it?
I mean, when I laid out all of these examples, it kept coming back to sales and demand, and when is demand going to return to where you need it to be. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not assuming that every business is on its last legs, because it's not. Some businesses are actually thriving right now, believe it or not. But the collapse in demand and the effect on the consumer and the people who have lost their jobs, you got to drill into your customers to really understand that demographic better than ever before, so that you can kind of gauge as best you can with the best available information you have to make an educated assessment as to is that customer coming back, and if not, well, is there a similar sector target market that I can go after that's safer, that's going to bring in more top line sales here.
Okay.
But it all comes back to sales and demand.
Gotcha. And how, I guess, do you have any recommendations on how people can pivot or, pivot their business in this time?
I mean, so much of business being online now it's a necessity. So we've got a client who is in the arts, a nonprofit arts education provider, and they usually do in-person music lessons, but they're now doing them online. So that's an adaptation. I think it really is going to depend on your unique set of circumstances for your business. Mm-hmm. Can you sell online? If not, why not? What can you sell online if you're not able to sell online? Physical layout of if you have a retail premises, do you have to revise that, that layout to accommodate the protocols that we're all going to be dealing with for a little while here? There's a raft of things, but you got to get customers in the door, and you got to keep, because costs are something that everyone feels like they have more control over, and in a sense they do, but bringing that top line number back is really what it has to all be about.
All right, so we have
I hope I'm not being too general.
No, you're good. We have, it says David, but it's actually Connie. She's basically saying, make sure you're going after your essential business clients. So I'm assuming that refers back to the 80-20 scenario that you had mentioned in the first video. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Could you maybe just break that down a little bit more? Whoever hasn't.
Yeah,
seen
you might have a situation where it's pretty obvious that the vast majority of your revenue is coming from a small number of clients. So those client relationships have to be your gold standard. You have to preserve those. You have to grow them, especially if the business around those clients is drying up. So focus your efforts on where it's going to matter most in terms of your margin on those clients that are most profitable.
All right, perfect. And we actually have another question. It says, are there any software applications that can help project financial need of a company?
I mean, I use Excel. I think a lot of folks do. Michael, do you have any thoughts on that? Or
There's
Adam?
no software that's specific that actually tells you what a company is going to need. That's why you hire an accountant, because there is a certain eyesight associated when dealing with people's numbers. Most all software, QuickBooks, I noticed someone happened to mention 1863 Ventures, which happens to be the piece which I guess it was Launch New York helped put together. But when you're using any software, any accounting software associated with the business itself, there are some tools that help you to see certain things. But having a very, very good bookkeeper or an accountant actually help you with the numbers, because they can actually figure out the need, because a lot of times it's not just what's on the bottom line that shows the aspect of need. Cash flow statements are an interesting tool. Most people don't know how to use them. But there are some additional components just to taking a look at that bottom line, and not only what is the deficit of the cash flow, as David has showed in his examples. But I will have to say that with a lot of small businesses, and particularly minority businesses, we have a couple of other anomalies that happen to pop up with regard to our cash and how it flows, that normally somebody that works with you can help you to kind of understand what's actually going on.
And I guess I would just ask if anyone else has any other questions. We're kind of coming up to the end of our discussion here. I know it's a huge take on something huge to take on in such a short period of time. But if anyone else has any questions, we can go ahead and get those out. And if not, we'll go ahead and wrap up.
While people are thinking about their questions, Dion here, I would just like to thank our technical assistance providers, Connie, David, Michael. Your voices, your faces, your expertise during this time of crisis and uncertainty has been such a calming influence. And I really do appreciate you being available and flexible and willing to share your time and your expertise with our small business clients. This has been hugely helpful, and I'm sure the folks on the call would agree with me. You've made yourself available regardless of the program or platform that we're putting out. So you've been proliferate across our different programs and events, and I really appreciate it. I would also like to give a huge kudos to Jahida, who has only been with us a couple of months, but has quickly onboarded, and this is her brainchild. This survival series was her brainchild. She came on board and immediately thought, well, what can we do to help small business owners who are already at a deficit get through this crisis? And I just really appreciate her hard work, her ingenuity, and her dedication to the mission. So thank you, Jahida. Thank you, Connie, David, Michael, who's telling me to smile. And Adam, who is, I think, probably still on the phone with us. There we go. And Sandra, you are one of our technical assistance providers as well, and you've been participating in these different workshops and forums. And we appreciate seeing your name, if not your face, and hearing your voice from time to time. Demetria, we look forward to your presentation next week. Thank you for coming on board the Pathstone train. Choo choo. Lenora, thank you for joining us. I hope that you got what you expected and more out of this presentation. And everybody, please stay tuned. Jahaira will be keeping you abreast of new content as it becomes available. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. David, thank you so much. I absolutely love that cash flow projection tool. It is really simple to follow, and perhaps this is something you can spend some time doing a much deeper dive in and sort of walking us through, step by step, how you would do that if you were to build your own spreadsheet. We just have to make the space and time for you to do that.
All right. Well, I will just say, Dion pretty much said she took it away. She said exactly what I was going to say, what needed to be said. I will second that. Thank you to all of the TA providers. You really, we can't do this without you. So we really appreciate all your time and patience and, really genuine concern. You've been very helpful in getting this information out. I think we're all on the same page that, this is information that's vital to all of our business owners. So thank you for that. Thank you for everyone else joining us on this call, Financial Projections. We have a new tool coming out next week, and that is mental fitness and maintaining your happiness in a time of crisis. So that we're pivoting a little bit, from kind of the financial aspect of a crisis and just business structures to how are you coping? How are you maintaining some type of stable kind of mental status? The whole lockup as well is something. So it's not just about what's going on with your business, but now, you're kind of tethered to your home. So how are you dealing with the people in your home 24/7? That's that's a little bit of a new adjustment for a lot of people. Children at home constantly, maybe teaching them through these new platforms. So it's a lot of adjusting that I think everyone is trying to get through. And so we're trying to make them get through it in as much of a positive light as possible. So that's really what the next tool is focused on. So again, it comes out, new videos always come out for the month of May, Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Friday we have the live Q&As as well. You can follow us on our social media platforms at BizUpBuffalo. So there's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can check our website out, bizupbuffalo.org. We have things up there as well. We really want to just make sure that everyone stays informed. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to us. Any type of feedback that you provide will help us make this better, not only, for you as consumers of the material that we're producing, but for us as an organization, right? We really want to make sure that we are providing pertinent information. We're not just providing information just for the sake of it. So it's really a collaboration. So yeah, with that being said, again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank
and
you.
Adam and Dion.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.